Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, David Riggleman, Communications Director for the City of Las Vegas. We have a great show ahead. The Raiders are one step closer to playing here in Las Vegas following the groundbreaking of their new stadium and what the city is doing to help prevent the sale of unhealthy animals to local pet stores. To talk more about all this, I'm joined by our Ward 2 City Councilman, Steve Seroka. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's great to be here.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Great Thanksgiving, and what a great month. This is Veterans Month in essence, so you'll hear about that more as we talk through our program.
Exactly.
Today.
We got kind of a theme coming in the show today about that. Exactly right.
Yeah.
You know the ward very well. You're the councilman who represents the ward, but for those out there who aren't exactly sure where Ward 2 is located, we're going to show you on the map. I live in Ward 2, so I know exactly where this is myself. This is basically the area west of the Rainbow Curve. That's kind of the best way to get your bearings a little bit. If you live in that area, work in that area, then you're in the city limits of the city of Las Vegas, and you are represented by Steve Seroka. You've hit the ground running. You've been in office just a few months, 5 months or so, and it's been a busy 5 months.
The topics have been coming hard and fast our way, but it's been great to have a great team, and our ward is really engaged, so it's been a lot of fun.
You know what I've really enjoyed? You're engaged on social media too, which is great to see, and you're always posting things, tweeting things, and you were also out at the groundbreaking the Raiders stadium. This is the Raiders and UNLV. We should point this out.
Absolutely.
And this is a big deal for the city. You had the groundbreaking here. This took place back on November 13th. For those that were kind of doubting, well, the Raiders really coming? Well, they're coming because we're breaking ground on the stadium, and obviously exciting for the team and exciting for UNLV. They're going to play there too.
That's great. Yes, absolutely. And you know, it was very special for me because I was also part of advocating for veterans and veteran businesses to be part of the construction and operation of the stadium. I actually had flown up to the legislature and had an opportunity to testify before our Senate and Assembly representing the 300,000 veterans in our community that really wanted somebody to have their voice go forward. And that was before I ever thought about running for office. But it was a great experience, and to see it come to fruition with a groundbreaking, wow, what a great experience and great fun.
Yeah, it was a big deal. As you can say, this is the site where the stadium is going to be located. Give yourself your bearings. It's basically kind of across I-15 on the west side of I-15, more or less across from where Mandalay Bay is located. That's where the stadium will be.
And David, those lights behind the stage there were 58 lights. The Raiders did a great job honoring our community and the 58 people that were involved in the 1 October shooting. They were not forgotten. They were not forgotten. What a strong event was put together, and what a beautiful view of our community there in the backdrop.
It was a classy event and a spectacular night. Of course, there's our mayor.
Wonderful job by Mayor Goodman, as always.
And there's the ceremonial turning of the dirt. So, hey, it's coming.
It's coming. They're coming, Dave. They're excited.
Exactly.
They brought their Hall of Famers to interact with all of us, so they're really committed to our community.
And very supportive of the move. Some of the Oakland fans, needless to say, and understandably, don't want to see the team move, but their Hall of Fame players very excited and very supportive of the move to Las Vegas.
And their coach, too, their Hall of Fame coach on the bus, got to ride with them, and they're very open. I didn't even know who the people were. They were not. They were very open to meeting all of us from Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
looking forward, and a couple years from now, they're going to be playing here in Las Vegas.
And it's going to help UNLV recruit, too.
Yeah, they're going to have an incredible stadium to play in. That's going to be, you're exactly right, a huge recruiting tool. Yeah. So, Councilman, for those that don't know, you mentioned veterans and your interest in veterans issues. You're retired from the United States Air Force. You were a full colonel in the United States Air Force, retired out at Nellis Air Force Base. To make colonel in the Air Force is a big deal. It's a hard rank to reach, and you reached that, retired about 3 years ago?
Yes, just a little over 3 years ago now.
And ran for city council. You were elected to represent Ward 2. But one of the things that you've been very clear on is that you support Ward 2 clearly, but you also want to advocate for veterans, and that's been one of the themes that you've had really even before you ran, but also during your campaign too. So. And
we have a large number of veterans in Ward 2, and they've been big supporters, and they look and are appreciative of the support that I've been able to bring, and now the city hall has been bringing forward our veterans as well.
We're going to talk about that. You are obviously recognized as someone who advocates for veterans. You tweeted this out. I'm honored to represent veterans in this week's edition of Las Vegas Sun's The Sunday, We must overcome stereotypes about hiring veterans. And Councilman, this is a great photo of you on the cover. There you are, advocating for veterans. You mentioned stereotypes. Let's talk about that a little bit. Some people have kind of this thought that those that come out of the military are maybe out of Apocalypse Now or something like that, where they're maybe battle scarred and maybe not all together. And you've always felt like that's just such an injustice, that people that come out of the military are some of the finest people we could have, finest potential employees we could have anywhere.
Thank you. Yes, and it's understandable how veterans are misunderstood, because when you look at the numbers, as opposed to back in the era of the greatest generation, where many had served and all were engaged in our conflicts, so few have served in our recent generation. So people just aren't exposed to veterans. But today we have veterans for an all-volunteer force, and our military can afford to be selective on who they take. And they take the top 2 out of 10 from our community and train them and bring them back at a higher level of precision and community involvement and capability. And a lot of it is just education, both on the parts of the veteran, on how to speak the language that's not military, and likewise on our non-military community, just to understand what it is that those veterans bring forward. And we have some great programs coming forward.
Talk about that. Right here at the city, we have a program hiring heroes, hiring our heroes.
Hiring our heroes, yes.
And the idea is to match those coming out of the military with jobs that would be a good skill set for them.
Yes,
Talk about that.
And right now, if I could start out with a shout out to our businesses, please become part of this program. You sign up and you tell us what openings you have. And with the program with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as the U.S. Air Force, specifically here, Nellis Air Force Base in Creech, but even broader than that, we align veterans and warriors coming out of the Air Force with those job openings you have. And we're having an event on December 13th where we're encouraging the businesses to come learn more about it. And I'm helping sponsor that event along with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to say, hey, for no risk to you, because the U.S. Air Force will pay the salary and benefits to that warrior for the last 6 months of their time in service. And you get to test drive them in the jobs that you think they would be great.
Yeah. So
yes.
you get, the military is going to pay for that person to come to your business. You try them out for 6 months. If you like them, you keep them. If you don't, you say, you know what? Send me another one.
There you go.
I want to try
Absolutely.
again.
And if any point along the way it's not working out, you just let us know, and we'll rotate that warrior out. We'll give you somebody else. And those warriors are vetted specifically for your positions. So there is a process in place to do that. And we're real excited about this.
Tell us more about the event on the 13th of December that can match businesses, get them lined up for this program.
Myself, along with U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Merity Leary, are sponsoring an event from 4 to 6 p.m. on December 13th. And you can find more information by calling our office for the location and specifics, but there'll be free drinks and free eats there for you to nibble on. And we will give you this more detail on the program and even have you meet some of the warriors currently in the program. And there's been some great success already. It's only been in place for the Air Force about 3 months. The Army has been doing this program for several years with great success, and now the Air Force is on board.
Outstanding.
So we have 1,000 warriors come out of Nellis Air Force Base every year, and let's keep them here in our community.
For sure.
We'd love to
keep the skills here in the community. Before the end of the show, Councilman will tell everybody how to reach your office. So if they want more information on that, they can reach out.
Please reach out. Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of veterans, Veterans Day Parade took place downtown. It's a great event, always on the 11th. Yes. And you tweeted this. You said, "Thank you, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, for your service to our community and, of course, for supporting our veterans." They had Big Red out there. You were on Big Red along with some of the other council members. And, of course, the fire department, everybody else supporting our veterans. That's a huge parade. It's one of the biggest anywhere in the country.
Yeah, as you say, we like to say it's the largest west of the Mississippi. And it's growing every year. The number of participants is just expanding. And the crowd was incredible, really engaged, and it was what a fun experience to be in it. This is my second year in the parade, this time as the city councilman. Last year I was in it with an organization called Forgotten Not Gone, which takes care of our veterans that are challenged as they lead this. So there we are. That's our city council bus sitting on top there right behind Councilwoman Fiore. And what a great support we had for that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful parade. And you know, Councilman, I think what always surprises me every year is just how many participants there are in the parade, but it's also heartwarming to see the people that turn out. It's always a big, big crowd on hand.
And it was great to see our junior ROTC programs demonstrate their prowess right in front of Show Center there with their precision drill teams. Very impressed from across the valley. So keep coming, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year. And our veterans really do appreciate it, our current and active duty veterans, our National Guard and Reserve, as well as those who have served in the past. So thank you.
The tie you're wearing has a veteran's tie too, doesn't it? Your tie has a tie.
Has a tie, no pun intended. Yes, David Finn ties, manufactured in the United States of America. A portion of every tie goes to an organization that supports the families of those fallen in battle. It's called the Folded Flag Foundation. You know, when we perish in battle, the family is handed a folded flag, and it's a very significant event, and this organization, the Folded Flag Foundation, is affiliated with our Las Vegas Golden Knights, and proceeds from every tie. David Finn ties gives a portion to the Folded Flag Foundation, supporting our Gold Star families.
Beautiful tie and a great cause all the way around. Council, I want to mention, speaking of veterans, some local kids were in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, also kids from around the country, but there was a tie. They were in the military. They were the kids of military, either active or retired. And there was some child named Seroka, in this, I recall hearing about. Yes. So,
well, we're very excited, David. Going to the Macy's Day Parade was always a bucket list item, and this year we had a real reason to go. Our daughter Maya was selected from hundreds across the country to participate in a Camp Broadway production right there at Show Center at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. She's saluting and waving in the crowd right now, and what a great experience. And it was from an organization called Camp Broadway that our Smith Center right here in the city of Las Vegas sponsors once a year. So if you're interested in doing Camp Broadway, and just thank you again for that veteran theme that we have tied in here, and thank you to Macy's Parade for supporting us.
The kids in red, white, and blue, that was great.
Red, white, and blue.
And Councilman, keeping our veterans theme going here, you tweeted this: great visiting the Air Force Thunderbirds today. This is out at Aviation Nation. That was the earlier part of November, and this is a big thrill, I know, for you, a former Air Force pilot yourself. You flew the F-15, which is what you're standing in front of right there, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. The military, this is a rare event. The Air Force never paints their airplanes non-military colors, but in honor of our Vegas Strong, we colored up one of our F-15s and put it out there at the air show. And, you know, it was the 70th anniversary of the Air Force. The Air Force is a relatively young organization, but it's high-tech, and we have a great and a very important base at Nellis Air Force Base and Creech. So it's great to make awareness of our community of what goes on at those two installations.
Yeah, that was a big deal for you. Air Force Academy grad, career Air Force officer, pilot, and retired colonel. So
and surrounded by great Americans. There are great people there.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for your service. And Councilman, again, keeping that veterans theme going at the Veterans Memorial Leisure Services Center. We had a shredding event out there, you know, so we want to show everybody. You had hundreds of people show up for this. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was great. We had over 200 cars show up, and what a great way. We know how important it is to protect your personal information.
Yeah, for sure.
And Shredded is a great supporter of the community, so we want to give a shout out to them. But thank you for coming out, but thank you for taking advantage of the opportunity that we provided you. We know it's important. So look at all those cars, and that was Jordan from our office.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like a familiar face taking care of business there.
There you go. Word gets out. Keep spreading the word.
I know, exactly, and we keep doing it. And you don't have to go to just to Ward 2 if you live in Ward 2. You can go anywhere. We have them in the city.
And we rotate it around.
Exactly,
yes, we do.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And Councilman, I should mention, too, annual event, big deal out in Ward 2. The Festival of Lights is coming up at the Lakes on December 9th. Want to give everybody a heads up on this. Saturday, December 9th from 5 to 8. This is the boat parade there on the lake out at the lakes. And this is a tradition. This has gone back for years. I can't remember how many years they started. Years ago they started doing this, but this has been going on for at least all the years I've been here at the city.
Yes. David, it took a little hiatus. We took a little break, but now we're bringing it back. Yeah. So we're looking to have as many people show up as possible. We're going to have great performers. We're going to have John Payne, formerly of Asia fame, performing, as well as one of our own machine Michelle Roll, who's a Janis Joplin type performer, and she's performing at the Smith Center at the Cabaret Jazz on December 20th as well. So we got some good entertainment coming to the event as well. So come on out, say hello, say hi to Santa, see the boats, and get a candy cane.
Yeah, that's right. That's Festival of Lights, again, out at the lakes, December 9th. And you don't have to live at the lakes. Anybody's welcome.
No, please come, regardless of where you live.
All right. Well,
It'll be fun.
All right. Well, Councilman, we need to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll talk about what the city is doing to crack down on the inhumane treatment of animals that are up for sale. That's next, so please stay with us.
Mom. Dear.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Hey. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back. The Las Vegas City Council recently repealed an ordinance that required pet stores to sell animals that came solely from care facilities or rescue organizations. The council voted that the ban would cause an unhealthy business environment and directed the staff to come up with better ways to crack down on inhumane breeders. Joining us now via Skype from Washington, D.C. is Mike Bober, the president and CEO of the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council. Mike, thank you so much for joining the councilman and I on the program today. Councilman, for Mike's edification here, let's talk about the vote. The council voted 4-3 to repeal the ordinance that basically said pets had to come from either rescue facilities or some kind of health organization. What was the thought process behind that, real quickly?
David, it was a well-intentioned ordinance because we clearly have a problem with inhumane breeders. And at the time, we thought the best way to handle this was to just tell pet stores you can only sell animals from shelters. But when we looked at it further, we realized, hey, we need to really cut this with a scalpel and not with a broad brush and get to the heart of the issue, which are the inhumane breeders, and it's not the pet stores. So if we can come up with, when we are in the process of developing a way to put guidelines in place that encourage good business practices, we can solve that problem. And we'd like to be a leader in that in our nation, in our community.
And I know your office has taken the lead on that. Mike, what's happened here in Las Vegas is there's been a correlation. Some believe that, well, the repeal of this ordinance means that what's going to happen now is that puppy mills and dogs from puppy mills are going to proliferate here in Las Vegas. It's going to open the door to that. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, we have to say thank you very much to Las Vegas for taking a thoughtful approach to this instead of just passing a regulation, wiping your hands and walking away. The reality is that there are good breeders who sell to pet stores. The pet stores who operate in Las Vegas are responsible actors. They have clean inspection reports. And we believe that animal care should be the priority. So we want to work with the council to put together a transparent and very clear way to assure people that they are operating and receiving animals from the most regulated and most ethical breeders out there.
Mike, how do you ensure that that occurs? How do you put people's fears to rest? Because there are some, especially animal rights activists, who believe that that's just not going to happen, that there's no way that the pet stores are going to be able to filter out those animals coming from puppy mills or so-called puppy mills.
Well, that's a reasonable concern, but the good news is that the industry and those of us who work with commercial breeders across the country have been working for months and years now to make sure that they are not simply meeting the minimum standards that are out there, but are actually working to set standards that are far above national requirements. The sourcing restrictions that have been put into place in jurisdictions across the country, from states like New Jersey and Connecticut to local jurisdictions, really create situations where any breeder that's operating out there has to be transparent, responsible, and more than anything, responsive to the needs of the animals that they're working with.
Is there a way, Mike, to be sure where the dogs come from? I know we've heard a lot about this. There are legitimate breeders out there who are going to breed one litter at a time often,
Sure.
As opposed to factories that are literally turning out hundreds of dogs at a time. How do you guarantee, or how do you reassure the public that the dogs are coming from those legitimate breeders versus a so-called puppy mill?
Well, the legitimate breeders that are out there are those who are operating according to the federal laws and the standards that are set under the Animal Welfare Act. These breeders, if they operate larger operations, they have the staff, they have the resources, the medical professionals who make sure that the animals that they're dealing with are cared for throughout the breeding process. If it's somebody who's a smaller breeder who has 4 or fewer breeding females, they're exempt from federal regulation. And those are the types of breeders that I think you're talking about, who tend to turn out just a few litters every year.
Gotcha. Mike, let me ask you this real quick question. I know one of the things that the councilman had talked about at our council meeting here recently was that we felt like the ordinance here in Las Vegas that was originally drafted wasn't going to address the puppy mill issue. No one is for puppy mills. I mean, that was clearly stated by everyone. I think we're all in agreement on that. But I think the discussion really boiled down to how do we prevent dogs from being sold that come from those places. And I think that's where the councilman, you can weigh in on this. I think that's where you felt like the ordinance missed the mark.
Absolutely. The ordinance was very broad. So if there's a way we can identify and track and restrict or allow pets coming from appropriate breeders, that would be a great step. And that's where we hope to have your help. And there's probably other areas as well, because yes, we're concerned about animal welfare, but we're concerned about protecting consumers in the education aspect to the public, to make sure that they are not inadvertently purchasing pets from a puppy mill.
And that's exactly the right approach. The situation that a prohibition creates, it drives people to bad actors, those who are already operating illegally, and it forces people to really turn to the black market. By creating a situation where there is no legal method to acquire responsibly raised animals through pet stores, you're creating a situation where you're penalizing the breeders who are doing it the right way. And more than that, you're penalizing your local stores. These are local citizens whose jobs are on the line, whose businesses can suffer and in some cases close as a result of these prohibitions that take away a very large portion of their sales.
I think, Mike, something that we also heard is that people felt like their ability to choose the type of dog that they wanted to get. If they wanted to get a purebred dog of whatever breed it might be, that it would be easier if the opportunity was out there still to be able to buy from a legitimate breeder versus having to go to a rescue facility that may or may not have that breed at any given time.
That's so important. We've found that the single greatest predictor of a successful lifelong relationship between a person and their pet is doing the research on the front end and making sure that you find the right animal for your particular situation. Now, in some cases, there are going to be small local breeders available that have exactly that dog for you. In other cases, unfortunately, that's not an option. And if that's the case, forcing someone to take a second choice, third choice, or simply what's available is going to create a situation where they're far more likely to relinquish that dog back.
Mike, is the industry doing anything more or less to police itself? And I know that your organization is an advocate for this, but is the organization
Absolutely.
policing itself to make sure that these legitimate breeders are able to distribute their dogs effectively versus being kind of priced out of the market by a puppy mill that's producing so many dogs that they can undercut the price?
Very much so. We are supportive of a number of efforts across the breeding community to both self-police and also to create new standards that can be used to guarantee that the animals that are coming out are being raised according to sound science and the best available approaches. Purdue University has conducted a study that's resulted in some standards that we believe are really going to go a long way toward helping people to rest assured that they're getting animals that were raised the right way.
Can you talk a little bit about that study, Mike? What did it say?
Yeah, absolutely. This was conducted by the Center for Animal Welfare Studies at Purdue University. And basically what they did was they looked at everything from enclosures to food and water to temperament to interactions and enrichment. And what they found was that there are definitely improvements that can be made out there that have a very positive impact, both on the animal's health and well-being, and also, frankly, on their ability to socialize more effectively after the fact.
Yeah, that would make sense. If they're raised in a healthy environment, they're going to be healthy dogs. That just makes
we're
sense.
very excited to see that.
And David and Mike, it's very encouraging to hear this research. Our pet stores that we have here in the city of Las Vegas are all more than willing and have expressed it repeatedly to comply with the efforts that we can bring forward to ensure the public that what they're getting in their store is a legitimate, humanely bred pet.
Absolutely. Responsible pet stores want to be partners in pet care. They're not in this for the money. The reality is it's very hard to get rich working with companion animals.
Yeah. Pet stores have said that all along. Their money really is made in the things that you sell to go along, the dog food and the toys and the other things, not the animals themselves. And they've been clear on that from the beginning.
Yeah. But for a small pet store, it's absolutely essential to have that initial sale of the dog to create a relationship, bring a customer back instead of having them basically price shop for the best available deals.
Mike, we've got less than a minute to go. Is there anything you'd like to add? We appreciate you being on the show with us today. Anything you'd like to conclude with?
More than anything, we just want to thank Las Vegas for taking a thoughtful approach to this. The fact that this original ordinance was passed with a 2-year window allowed everyone to kind of take a step back, cool off, and look at this from a more dispassionate perspective. And I think that's really benefited everyone.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much. Again, Mike Bober, President and CEO of the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council out of Washington, D.C. We very much appreciate you being on the show, Mike.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Mike.
And we always want to hear from you, so if there's something you'd like to share with Councilman Seroka, you can always find him on Facebook. And if you leave a comment, we may use one of your posts on an upcoming show. And of course, you can always contact him by picking up the phone. He's at 702-229-6405, or send him an email. His address is sseroka@lasvegasnevada.gov. Councilman, great job. We'll have you back here in 6 weeks. We'll do it all again, okay?
Thanks, David. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Well done today.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Access City Council. Don't miss our next show beginning on December 7th with Councilman Ricky Barlow. And don't forget, you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time around.